Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Varella's abundance of moons always unsettled Theo. They spun in a strange synchronized orbit overhead, their silver glints scattering across the planet's violet lakes like shards of fractured mirrors, and staring at them for too long inevitably gave him a mild headache. The planet itself was undeniably stunning, rich, green, and lush, with gravity just a fraction lighter than Earth's and air carrying the faint perfume of lavender left a touch too long in warm sunlight. But Theo wasn't here to admire the scenery. He wasn't a tourist. He was a soldier, worse, a diplomatic soldier. His posting was the Royal Compound, part of the Human Verithellan Alliance exchange program. The job mostly involved standing in ceremonial armor that itched like mad, being politely ignored by guards with sharper cheekbones than seemed fair, and occasionally fielding bizarre questions about human biology. Once, when asked if humans truly had internal organs, Theo had muttered, "Yes, and feelings too, believe it or not." On the morning it all went wrong, Theo was killing time near the South Gardens, holding a half-squashed nutrition bar and quietly savoring how little anyone expected of him. Overhead, local birds, if you could call a hovering six-winged sphere a bird, drifted lazily. Alien envoys in layered, oil-slick shimmering robes strolled past. Theo, as usual, tried to project the energy of someone not worth noticing. Then the first blast hit. It wasn't so much loud as it was like the air folded in on itself. The shockwave rolled over the gardens, reducing sculptures to rubble and shattering the sky-glass fountains into clouds of glittering shrapnel. A sharper, closer boom followed. Theo dropped instinctively, his nutrition bar flying into a hedge that immediately attempted to sting him. Ow! Hostile shrubbery. Noted. Sirens wailed. Guards broke formation, scrambling for cover. A voice barked over the intercom in 3 different tongues. Took Theo a beat to realize one word kept repeating. Evacuate. He rose, scanning the chaos. In the courtyard, a royal barge lay broken, its once gleaming fins curled like dead leaves. Smoke streamed from shattered towers. Then, amid the destruction, movement caught his eye. A flash of pale blue fabric slipping behind a crumbled wall near the old library wing. Theo didn't think. He ran. The deeper Theo pushed into the palace, the stranger everything became. Normally the interior was spotless, humming with refined tech. Now it sparked and flickered like some half-dead amusement park. Doors were either sealed tight or ripped from their frames. One corridor reeked faintly of roasted almonds, which, in his experience, meant plasma leakage. Perfect. Death with a pleasant scent. Then he heard it, a hiccup. Small, wet, unmistakably belonging to a child. He followed the sound down a partially collapsed hallway, boots crunching over broken tiles. A door to his left creaked open, its security field sputtering like a bad signal. Inside, dimly lit and cluttered with storage crates, a small alien girl crouched behind one of them. She clutched a scorched plush toy, 3 heads, far too many limbs. Her long, pointed ears were so thin they seemed almost transparent. Skin pale as moonlight, wide violet eyes with softly glowing irises. She looked no more than 6. Her royal blue and silver dress was torn and soot-stained. She stared at him, frozen, trembling.
Theo grau Jack Slough.
Hey, he said, voice soft. I'm not going to hurt you. You okay? She didn't answer. Her lip trembled. Then, with more dignity than a queen, she hurled the plush toy at him, let out a shriek, and bolted. Theo caught it midair. Okay. Strong start. He chased her through narrow passages, calling out reassurances that were in no way regulation approved. I'm on your side. I'm human, but the helpful kind. She darted into another hallway, tripping over loose wiring. Before she could scramble up, Theo slid beside her and wrapped his arms around her gently. She screamed, then bit him. Ow! Okay, wow. Yep. Sharp teeth. Good evolutionary choice. He didn't release her. She struggled for 3 seconds like a trapped animal, then went limp. Hey! He murmured, realizing she'd fainted. Cradling her carefully, Theo stood. The building groaned overhead. A crack split across the ceiling. Heat was spreading. He glanced down at her small, ash-smudged face, her breathing shallow but steady. "You'd better be important," he muttered, "because I'm pretty sure I just skipped about 50 interstellar regulations." And then he ran. The royal compound was coming apart like a flan collapsing in a microwave. Theo bolted down a corridor, the unconscious alien girl held tight in his arms. Above, beams gave way with groans that reminded him uncomfortably of disappointed whales. Sparks rained like angry fireflies. His boots skidded over slick tiles as the palace's emergency stabilizers hiccuped, literally, and sent the floor tilting for a moment. "Still hate alien architecture," he muttered, clutching the girl closer. Even asleep, she clung to him, her forehead tucked into his collarbone. Somewhere behind them, a collapsed stairwell swallowed a decorative statue with a noise that could only be described as schlunk. His escape plan, if it could be called that, was to reach the southern launch deck. Unfortunately, 30 seconds ago, the southern launch deck had ceased to exist. A hole the size of a cargo shuttle now gaped in its place, full of fire, open air, and the cosmic equivalent of oops. New plan. He veered into the service corridors, tighter spaces with lower ceilings, smelling like lubricants and overcooked alien soup. Cleaning drones zipped frantically around, trying to mop soot while setting themselves on fire. One squeaked past, dragging a bucket labeled "not a bomb." Theo decided not to ask. A nearby terminal crackled to life as he passed, its too cheerful digital voice chirping, "Reminder. Guests are encouraged to explore the royal atrium while awaiting retrieval." Theo didn't slow. "Reminder. Guests." He kicked the terminal. It died with a hiss. Theo finally reached a supply dock, miraculously still intact. Emergency shuttles sat lined along the walls like obedient beetles, wings folded neatly. He rushed to the nearest and slapped the entry pad. It blinked red. He slapped it again. Still red. The girl stirred in his arms, letting out a soft whimper. Her long ears twitched. Come on," he hissed at the panel. "Don't make me sweet-talk you." Beep. Green light. "Oh, so you do like a little attention." The hatch hissed open. He ducked inside, laying the girl gently on a padded bench. As soon as he tapped the console, the launch AI cooed in a calm, almost smug tone, "Please select escape destination."
Ani her not at loading, theo girl.
Destination confirmed. Not exploding. Estimated survival rate, 38%. "I hate this planet." With a low grumble and a burst of ion thrust, the shuttle dropped into freefall before the main thrusters roared to life, hauling them skyward. Beneath them, smoke swirled. The palace dwindled to a glowing smudge. Theo slumped in the pilot's seat, breathing hard. The girl, still unconscious, curled up like a kitten. A soot-covered kitten wearing royalty. And then it hit him. He hadn't just saved a child. She was the child. He'd seen her once before at a grand banquet, seated beside the towering Queen Valmira herself, small and solemn, wearing a circlet studded with star fragments. He'd wondered then if she even realized how many worlds bent to her mother's will. Now she drooled on his shirt. The NAV display pulsed. Closest viable destination, Horizon Arc 5, a human-built medical station in orbit around a nearby moon. Neutral ground. Safe. Most importantly, stocked with snacks. He set the course. The shuttle glided into orbit, engines smoothing to a purr. Theo glanced down. Her breathing was steadier now. Her crown, half melted, was still clenched in her tiny fist. He doubted the official rescue manual included bring snacks and crack jokes, but he'd improvised with worse odds. Her eyes fluttered open, faint violet glow catching the cabin light. She studied him through a squint. "You smell like burnt toast," she rasped. "That's probably the palace on fire," he replied. She nodded seriously. "Okay." A beat later, "I like toast." Just like that, the hardest part of his day was behind him. Probably. Horizon Arc 5 drifted in the dark like a steel lily, its docking rings spinning slow and steady. Built by humans, it lacked Verithellan elegance. It was blocky, practical, and dented in spots nobody admitted to. The approach banner read, "We probably won't explode." Theo liked that. The shuttle coasted in under magnetic clamps. The outer bay doors yawned open, revealing a hangar full of maintenance drones, crew in rumpled uniforms, and the vending unit eternally out of strawberry synth bars. Relief hit him like a wave. Behind him, the girl, still refusing to share her name, had requested a spoon, a nap, and for the ceiling to stop blinking. All fair demands. Now wrapped in a med blanket, she sat on the bench, her tiny feet poking out like punctuation marks. "Okay," Theo muttered as the hatch opened. "Time to explain why I just turned up uninvited with the heir to an alien empire. This'll go great." A young technician, chewing something suspiciously green and possibly alive, froze at the sight of them. Sir, is that a—" "Yes," Theo cut in. "No, you can't pet her. And yes, I need medical and diplomatic clearance. Yesterday." The girl added, "I'm hungry, and he smells weird." Theo gave her a look. "Really leaning into this royalty thing, huh?" She stuck her tongue out. "I command toast." Within 20 minutes, they'd taken over a secure medbay. Theo was halfway through explaining the entire ordeal to an administrator whose expression suggested she was preparing for psychic combat. "So let me get this straight," she said sharply, massaging her temples. "You stumbled across the Verithellan princess during a palace attack, and you brought her here, in an escape pod you commandeered without clearance." Theo tilted his head. "Technically, she found me, and I prefer the term commandeered over stolen. Do you understand the size of the diplomatic crisis this could cause?" He shrugged. "I'm a human soldier on an alien planet. I just got bit by royalty. I live in scandal now." Meanwhile, in the adjoining room, the girl had fallen asleep mid-toast. One hand still clutched the remains of her singed plush toy. Medbots had cleared her of physical injuries, noting only elevated stress levels and a diet lacking certain minerals. Theo suggested chocolate. The bots didn't argue. A few hours later, the secure comm line to Varithella finally connected. Static flickered, and then Queen Valmira appeared. Tall, composed, radiating the kind of authority that could break stone with a glance. Her long ears rose like silver blades threaded with glowing braids, strands of living history. Her deep violet eyes, rimmed with wisdom and distance, locked on Theo. "Identify yourself."
Theo.
"Sergeant Theo Merrick, Earth Diplomatic Forces. I pulled your daughter out of a collapsing palace into a vending machine-powered shuttle. She's eaten 3 slices of toast and a protein bar. You're welcome." A long pause, then a softer voice. "Mama." The girl appeared at Theo's side without a sound, her small hand slipping into his. Theo glanced down in surprise. Valmira's posture shifted, just slightly. "You are unharmed?" "I have toast crumbs," the girl reported. "He smells like fire and hair." Something almost like a laugh ghosted through the Queen's voice. "Almost." She straightened. "I will come." The transmission cut. Theo blinked. "Great. Royal Mom inbound. Hope this place has tea." He looked at the girl. She yawned. "Should probably ask your name now," he said. She mumbled something that sounded like LRA. "Nice to meet you, LRA. Let's hope your mom doesn't vaporize me." "She might," LRA replied sleepily. "But I'll tell her not to." When the Queen's vessel arrived, subtlety wasn't part of the plan. Horizon Arc 5 had never hosted royalty, unless you counted a smuggler with a fake tiara who demanded to be called Your Spiciness. Valmira's craft, an obsidian prism laced with golden light, glided into docking bay 3. Conversations stopped. Tools clattered to the floor. Even the coffee machine halted mid-drip, as if realizing it wasn't worthy. Theo stood at the hangar's edge, arms folded in what he hoped passed for not about to be atomized. Beside him, LRA sat on a crate, legs swinging. A lollipop declared, medically stabilizing by some confused tech. When the Queen stepped out, time didn't freeze, but it slowed. She was tall, her armor shimmering with kinetic energy, every plate etched in ancient script. Her long ears curved elegantly, her deep violet eyes rimmed with silver scanning the room with measured precision. No guards flanked her. She didn't need them. "You're the human who rescued my daughter?" she asked. Theo glanced at LRA, who was attempting to stick her lollipop to her forehead. Technically, yes, though rescued, was more of a panicked sprint through collapsing hallways while being bitten. Valmira said nothing, then stepped closer, and knelt. She extended her hand to LRA. The girl didn't move. "No," she declared. "She's scary." Then she pointed at Theo. "He's funny." Theo raised his brows. "I'll take it. Not every day I outrank a queen in comedy." Valmira rose unreadable. "You have earned an audience. Walk with me. Do I get a sash or something? You get to live. Fair trade." They left the hangar, trailed by a small procession of baffled station personnel. LRA skipped between them, gripping Theo's hand like it was her property by royal decree. The Queen stayed silent until they reached the observation lounge, a curved glass chamber overlooking the moon, its surface veined with glowing rivers of bioluminescent algae. When she finally spoke, her tone had softened under the alien light. "When the palace fell, I thought she was gone. My guards failed. My counselors hid. Yet a human, a foreigner, risked death to bring her back.
Theo rút.
She was scared, small, had excellent aim with a plush toy. Something faint tugged at the corner of Valmira's mouth, not quite a smile. "You could have left her." "I didn't," he said simply. She nodded once. Then, before he could step back, she reached out and touched 2 fingers to his temple. A faint warmth rippled through him, followed by a flash of images. Fear, hope, a child's laugh, tangled together with his own memories. When she withdrew her hand, he staggered. "What was that?" "A bond recognition. You are known to me now." "That's either very reassuring or very concerning." Behind them, LRA yawned. "Can we go somewhere with pillows now?" Valmira lifted her daughter easily. "Yes, and I believe the station serves toast."
Theo grinned.
"We'll forge an interstellar alliance out of carbs yet." In the stillness above the fractured moon, something settled between the 3 of them. Not duty, not politics, but a quiet understanding. And toast. The first official meeting between Queen Valmira and Horizon Arc 5's commander took place in the hydroponics lab, the only space clean enough to pass as diplomatic. Oversized cucumbers, misting vents, and a tomato vine that looked vaguely judgmental surrounded the summit. Commander Reyes, who had once ended a trade dispute by faking food poisoning, looked weary before anyone had spoken. "So, let me recap," he said, pacing between lettuce towers. "An Earth soldier rescued the heir to the Verithellan throne from an active attack, brought her here in a not his escape pod, and now the Queen herself is having tea among my vegetables." "Correct?" Valmira replied evenly, sipping from a cup while seated on a metal crate draped with a towel that read property of laundry unit B12. "I also find the scent of cucumber air calming." Theo leaned against a moss-covered table. "Told you it all makes sense in context." "It doesn't," Reyes muttered. LRA wandered by in a lab coat 3 sizes too big, wearing safety goggles for no apparent reason. She held up 2 nutrient pellets as if they were sacred relics. "I'm a scientist now. I'm inventing royal snacks." Theo gave her a thumbs up. "Make sure at least one's chocolate." But beneath the levity, tension hung in the air. The Queen hadn't come merely to say thank you. Her presence carried political weight. Diplomatic channels were already buzzing. Earth envoys wanted answers. Valmira, however, seemed focused entirely on Theo. She studied him not just as the man who had saved her child, but as something more, something she hadn't defined yet. Finally, after a long, measured silence, she spoke. "Our people do not grant honors lightly. We remember debts for centuries, not in medals. There is precedent for guardians beyond our species, but never before a human." Theo opened his mouth, shut it, then tried again. "So, I'm being offered what exactly? A job? A title? A moss throne?" "You find humor in discomfort," she noted. It's how I stay alive. She stepped closer, her long ears shifting slightly in the recycled air. You are being offered place, protection, recognition, not because you asked, but because you didn't. That landed heavier than he expected. LRA tugged on his sleeve. Does that mean you stay forever? He crouched beside her. I don't know, but it means if you need me, I'll be here. Valmyra's gaze didn't waver. You are part of this court now, Theo. Whether it floats above Varithella or sits in a hydroponics lab around a frozen moon. Reyes groaned. Please don't turn my station into a royal embassy. No promises, Theo said. For the first time, the Queen smiled fully. Somewhere between the nutrient tanks and LRA's snack experiments, the soldier who'd once wanted to be invisible had become unforgettable. Space, Theo had decided, had a sound. Not in the literal sense, since vacuum wasn't exactly big on acoustics, but in the feeling of it. The low thrum of distant thrusters, the faint rhythmic tick of consoles cycling, the ghostly chime of stars against glass. Horizon Arc 5 had grown quieter in the weeks since Queen Valmyra's visit, but it wasn't the same quiet as before. Now it was filled with different noise, new protocols, diplomatic guests, and, somehow, an official Varithellan toast dispenser in the mess hall. Theo stood in the observatory again, gazing through the same curved window he'd stared out of days earlier. This time, the silence didn't weigh on him. Beside him, LRA balanced on a stool too tall for her, nose nearly touching the glass. She wore a small cape, part princess attire, part lab coat, embroidered with stars. Someone had called it a political fashion statement. She called it her adventure cloak. Below them, Varela spun in storm-ring beauty. The palace was repaired, the throne restored, but the future already felt different. You could stay, you know, LRA said softly. Forever. Theo glanced down. You'd miss me. She nodded, then frowned. But I don't like hugging. Just so you know. Duly noted. I'll cancel the parade. The observatory doors hissed open. Queen Valmyra entered without fanfare, armor replaced by robes of starlight silk, their glowing patterns shifting like drifting nebulae. Her long ears dipped in greeting. We leave within the hour, she said gently.
Theo nốt đét.
Figured. Word is your people are ready for answers. And change. They wait for reassurance, she replied. But what they need is something new. Her gaze shifted to LRA. She will remember what you did long after the history books fade. Longer still, she will remember how you made her laugh in the dark. Let's be fair, Theo said. I had good material. Exploding palaces, angry robots, royal bite marks. A breath of a smile touched the Queen's face. Do not mistake simplicity for insignificance, Theo Merrick. You became what no treaty could craft, a bridge. One that stumbles, mutters sarcasm, but still connects. He looked down at his boots. You think your council's going to buy that? A human with no noble blood, just someone who ran when the fire started. She stepped closer, resting her hand over his heart. They will, because I do, and because LRA does.